People who knew someone who died at work. What happened? A worker at one of my construction sites got flattened by a concrete wall after it fell from the third floor. It was scary, but instant, and very obvious that he could not have survived, so there was no suffering. Everyone who saw it froze, except one elderly worker who ran around screaming, "Don't call anybody, did he have a helmet on?" Nobody answered, so he got the crane worker to lift the concrete wall slightly and threw a helmet under the wall. He did it to make sure that the insurance would pay the full amount to his family. It's sad to think about money in that situation, but it really was the best thing that could be done. Insurance will do anything to not pay, like a worker who fell to his death but wasn't wearing a reflective vest. As if that would have helped the ground see him coming. They ended up paying about half after the news caused public outrage. I worked at a supermarket about a decade ago. One night the store manager said he was feeling kind of weird. He went to sit down in the office and suffered a fatal heart attack. He was fairly young, about 38, in relatively good shape, and was a really nice guy, so it hit a lot of us hard. The guy selected to be our new manager was very popular in the company, and came in the next day to introduce himself. On the morning with what would have been his first shift at our store, he was killed in a motorcycle accident on his way in. That was a crazy week. What is one thing men should never do to look attractive? Never insult other guys as a way to boost your own attractiveness or value with a girl. It doesn't work that way, you just look insecure. Be confident, not arrogant. Don't emulate cool movie characters as a way to look cool. Those characters are typically exaggerated and it's obvious if you're putting on an unrealistic act. The advice to be yourself is overused, but it really is best to be honest. Don't do the tough guy walk and look. I used to work with a guy like that. He had his shirt sleeves rolled up over his shoulder, showing the ladies his scrawny arms. This isn't prison, it's McDonald's. He would hit the gym before coming to work so his arms looked a little bigger. He wasn't young, he was like 37. We were like 20-year-old girls. Relax, you just look weird. What's a harmless secret you've kept forever? My mom is crazy about being healthy and wouldn't let us have cheese in the house. When I was 20, I moved out and my dad was helping me fix stuff, so I provided lunch. I made a joke about how he'd hate going back to work next week and not having cheese on his sandwiches again. He then told me his deepest secret, that he had been buying blocks of cheese that he kept at work for years. My mom still doesn't know. My dad is a doctor. When my daughter was little, she was terrified of hurting her ankle. Anytime she got the slightest twinge or rolled it slightly, she was convinced it was broken. My dad would use a device used to scan a baby's heartbeat over her little ankle, pretending it was an X-ray machine, and her ankle was fine. She's 13 and still convinced that it was a real X-ray. I'm never going to tell her otherwise. When my brother was 4, he won a stuffed animal from a claw machine and it was his favorite thing ever. He slept with it every night for weeks. He fell asleep on the couch and was carried to bed, but left his stuffed animal on the floor. The dog decided to tear it to pieces during the night. I spent $40 trying to win another one and put it under his bed for him to find. What's the worst financial decision you've seen someone make? I knew someone who got a loan for their wedding, then decided to blow it all at a casino. Smart. Now they have a $20,000 loan to pay off and got nothing. Although I'd argue spending money you don't have on a wedding isn't smart either. An old friend of mine and his girlfriend bought some scam water filtration system from a door-to-door salesman. He has to pay about $300 every month for it. He was all excited because it came with a free set of pots and pans. A year later, his girlfriend had left and he had to move out. The water filtration system is now sitting in a storage unit where he still pays every month because he's on a 3-year contract. We have great water quality in my area, by the way. My brother's old girlfriend fell for a scam. She wanted to buy a used motorcycle, and the guy said he needed money up front to pay bills before she even saw it. We told her don't do it, it's obviously a scam. She said she already sent $1,000. Of course, he was never available to show her the bike, and we found out from my brother after they broke up she actually continued sending him money in hopes of getting the motorcycle. You can't fix stupid. She was out $3,000 by the end. What's something you'll never do again in your life? I did a cave tour at Mammoth Cave, where it's like a 6-hour caving adventure, and I'll never do it again. Crawling through spaces so narrow you have to lay flat on your stomach with no room to even lift your head or turn around was awful. I didn't think I was claustrophobic, but never again. Some of the areas you crawl through are so tiny that they actually have height and chest circumference limits so people don't get stuck. Skydiving. It was a big thrill, but one time is enough. After you jump, it's honestly not that exciting. Bridge jumping would be much scarier, since the ground actually gets closer. I knew a friend who went tandem skydiving, and her main chute didn't open, so they had to use the reserve. Then about a year later, her friend called and told her one of the instructors they jumped with had died in an accident. I'll never trust the electric company to trim the oak trees in my front yard. They chopped down 2 mature trees and left the firewood in a giant pile in the driveway as a favor. Screw you, Progress Energy. What's the fastest way you've ever seen a new coworker get fired? The first day, he did a drugs via injection right outside the building. Clocked in, went to work, and was found an hour later slumped over a table slowly munching on stolen muffins like an elderly dog. Great first impression. He didn't get fired, he quit. This dude was a first-day hire at a grocery store. Some dude blew up the entire bathroom with diarrhea. Walls, doors, sink, mirror, everywhere. They asked new dude to go clean it. He clocked out and never came back. In high school, I worked at a clothing store as a cashier. The guy next to me has his sister come through with a huge pile. He scans one item that was on clearance for $2 on repeat for everything, which was likely hundreds of dollars. He didn't realize the manager was standing right behind him. Go clock out and give me your name tag. You're gone. He didn't argue or anything, just put his head down and walked off. The manager goes to clear the register, and the sister takes out her card. This is going to be on credit. The manager says, not for $2, it's not. Get out of here. The sister actually tried to keep going like they weren't caught. What was ruined for everyone by one single person? My primary school used to do relatively frequent trips to a local zoo, until one boy decided to vault the fence and punch a penguin. I wish I was joking. I'm a contractor. In one mill I worked at, we had a gravy job, generally 2 hours of easy work, but we get paid for the full 12 hours. Well, one guy decided he was going to charge them for 16, and now we get paid for the 2 hours. At a previous job, we got full uniforms, shirts, pants, hats, winter coats, gloves, but not boots. Apparently, a couple of years before I was hired, one guy would take his boots and sell them, then request a replacement, then sell those. He did this about 20 times before anybody caught on because of the large company being slow to notice. When they caught on, they stopped giving out boots to their employees. Other firefighters constantly ruined any sort of appreciation gifts. We had a restaurant that would give $10 off your meal. If you spent under $10, it was basically free. One guy ruined it on an $8 order by demanding the $2 be given to him. We also had people going in uniform on days they didn't work, or hosting a family reunion and complaining that everyone should get the discount. How can people be so greedy and out of touch? If you push it, they'll obviously have to stop. What's the worst physical pain you ever felt? A wasp once got trapped under my eyelid whilst I was out walking. Not sure how many times it stung me, but it was horrific. Pretty much shut me down for an hour. Hockey puck at 80 kilometers per hour versus my right testicle, resulting in a testicular rupture and a surgery 2 days later. Gout. It's a kidney issue where crystals can build up in other parts of your body, resulting in constant indescribable pain. It doesn't even come in waves. Mothers call it worse than childbirth. I thought lovingly about removing my foot with a hacksaw. Sneezed and herniated a disc in my back. Couldn't walk for 5 days. This was almost 2 months ago, and I can still barely stand for longer than 5 minutes at a time. Do core exercises and take care of your back as best as you can. What's the craziest thing you've overheard on a plane? Everyone's boarded and we're starting to move when a kid starts crying and screaming at the top of his lungs, "I need to poop, and I'm going to poop," over and over again until the seatbelt signs came off. I've never seen so many worried faces and the look of panic as the mother picked up the kid and bolted to the toilet. I am a pilot for a major airline. Decades ago, I was running for a flight home and managed to snag the last seat. A mother and young daughter were seated next to me. Halfway through the flight, the mother, seeing my disheveled look after flying all day, asked if I wanted her daughter's sandwich that she wasn't going to eat. I politely declined, but she insisted. That was the best peanut butter sandwich I'd ever had. Why did you get fired? I applied and got the job. Right after I signed all the paperwork, the department manager comes in and asks who I am. I tell him I was just hired as a temp. The manger says he never authorized any hiring and fired both me and my boss on the spot. I was denied a raise after consistently working 60 to 70-hour weeks. My manager, who had supported and requested the raise, told me to stop putting in the extra time, work my 40, and spend that extra time applying to new jobs. Within a month, a meeting was called to mutually part ways because my work apparently wasn't getting done. I was happy to learn that they had to hire 2 people to do my job after I left.